What does it mean to you to be able to share your message in a company in this that have built that success over the years?
I remember praying to God, like, please show me the path to becoming a millionaire because I'm a student, I want to learn and I'm hungry and I will be a good steward of money. And by the way, if you help me, the deal that I'll make you is I'll dedicate the rest of my life to teaching other people how to do it too.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. And that's the reason that I am on the podcast or why I speak at conferences and stages all over the world is because I'm keeping my promise. I became a millionaire at 33. It changed my entire life. And I now dedicate my life to helping other people get there too.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Women Unlocking Wealth. And we're super excited for our next guest, Cheri Tree. She is the founder and CEO of Codebreaker Technologies and the founder basically of the B.A.N.K methodology. Cheri, I'm super excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us in person.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be on the show. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, you know, it was interesting. I actually saw you speak at an event years back, and I actually went through and took the quiz a long time ago. Going through it, learning that side, and I thought it was really unique. But you've had a unique journey going through from starting this company and building it from the ground up. And you have a unique story about like how you built it, where you built it, and where you are today. I'd love you to kind of just share a little bit more about that backstory.
Well, okay. So the backstory, why I created it in the first place, I started off in sales. I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And he said, if you're going to be great in business, you need to be great in sales. So I jumped in, became a financial advisor working on full commission model. And my first year I crushed it. I made $700.
That was crushing it. Yeah, that's crushing it. Building the wealth right there.
Oh my gosh. It's like crush or be crushed. I got my butt kicked so bad. And
you had me hanging there. I know. You're going to add a few zeros to this.
I know, right? Because you're expecting 7 figures and I was like 700.
Hey, at least there's a 7 in there, right?
So for 5 years, you know, I decided I was going to really lock in on sales and get really good at it. And I started studying everything I could learn about sales and attended conference, read books, hired coaches. And I got my income up to about $72,000, but I didn't feel successful because I was $30,000 in credit card debt. I'm renting an apartment, couldn't qualify for a home. I'm driving a salvage title BMW playing the fake it till you make it game. So and then it reminded me of this quote from Robert Kiyosaki. He said, stop taking advice from people more messed up than you. And I'm like, oh my word, I'm a financial advisor with a broken BMW and a set of jumper cables in my appointments, like no joke. And I'm trying to give financial advice on where you should put your money. Maybe I should go get some of my own. Right. So that's kind of where I had my first wake up call is something's broken. Is it me that's broken? Like maybe I'm just not cut out to be an entrepreneur or salesperson, or is it the system that's broken? And is the system programming me to fail? And I found out it wasn't me. It was in fact the system. And I began to relentlessly figure out how to hack the system.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about, well, I know off camera, we were discussing a little bit about your journey about like how you built the company or where you built the company from. I think that's really intriguing. And it's something that a lot of people probably wouldn't go through, you know, sharing their experiences that deep, but I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what we shared this morning.
Yeah, really cool. I know. We had an amazing breakfast this morning.
Thank you for that.
I revealed that I lived in a storage unit for about 18 months. And I need to kind of frame the story a little bit so that we understand.
Yeah.
The storage unit happened after I made millions, not before I made millions. And that's the twist to the plot because, so let me go back to the system was broken and I found out that they were programming me to fail by conditioning me to believe what I call one of the greatest lies ever told in sales, which is that sales is a numbers game, right? How often have you heard that before? Or they tell you that in order to get more yeses, you have to get more no's. Right?
Yes, heard that many times.
All of us bought into that concept until I woke up one day and said, that's actually the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because the truth is in order to get more yeses, you actually have to get more yeses. Not more no's. So I decided I was going to pursue the science of getting a yes. What actually makes someone say yes versus no? And the deeper I went into studying it, I discovered people and personality types and personality science that dated back thousands of years to the great philosopher Hippocrates, the father of medicine, right? What he basically figured out was that he could take the entire human race, divide them into 4 different groups, and he could treat them with medicine differently. This was the origin of what he called the 4 temperaments. right? So when you fast forward to our modern day world, there's been all these different personality assessment models that have been created. Some of the more popular ones we talked about were DISC or MBTI and so forth, right? There's tons. What color are you? What animal are you? What astrology sign are you? Etc.
Virgo.
And I took those assessments and I was always fascinated with what I learned about myself. But my fascination turned into frustration when I realized not one single one of these assessments ever made me more money. Not one of them ever helped me close more sales. Not one of them ever helped me put money in the bank. And I remember feeling so frustrated. Like, what's the point of these assessment models if it doesn't impact the bottom line? Like for a salesperson or an entrepreneur that's literally starving to death and their entire living depends on their ability to close that sale. Like, this is a life or death situation, really, right?
Yeah.
You remember maybe the beginning of scrapping it.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, man, there has to be a better way. Show me an assessment model that tells me not who I am, because no customer ever cared, right? Has anyone ever stopped you in the middle of your pitch, said, hey, wait, before you go any further, I just want to know your personality type. Like, nobody. But I remember thinking, wait, if it's been proven that there's 4 different types of people, like, I wonder if they make buying decisions differently. And I wonder if what makes one person say yes makes the other person say no. Show me the assessment model that tells me who my customer is, who's my buyer, and why do they buy? Right. And that's kind of where this journey took me. And I discovered I basically reverse engineered the idea of personality science. And instead of building it based in psychology, like every other assessment model, I built mine based in biology, spelled B-U-Y-ology.
I love that.
Which was the science of buying behavior.
Yes.
And I essentially cracked a code, and I built the 4 buyer types into the acronym called B.A.N.K. Blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. And knowing someone's bank code of your buyer, I was able to figure out the exact formula of how to communicate to unlock a yes versus a no without any manipulation at all.
How long did it take you to create this side of it? Like did it spend hours, or was it one of those things like, I just understand this? You have people helping you through that process?
Well, I mean, I had gone through a series, like I attended different workshops, and some even based on other personality type models. But always when I got to the end of the workshop, I was like, well, how do I use this to make money? Like, who cares what I am? Like, it's nice to know, but hello, I'm starving. I have a salvage title BMW with a set of jumper cables I have to take everywhere because my life sucks. Like, how's this going to make me money? Oh my gosh. Like, why does no one ever ask these questions? So, you know, it was over the course of a year or so where I was taking these different assessment models, attending workshops, and then I started to dig and research and study and started to build my own experiment. And I created a set of cards, right? So I actually brought in the studio a set of bank cards, and you each have one. Okay. So these are the bank cards that made up the acronym of the 4 personality styles. And I put a set of values on each of them. And I was able to categorize people and ask them to crack their code and reveal to me what was their priority of their values. And if they were willing to share with me this sequence, then I could redirect my communication style in a way that spoke to them. We always hear in sales that people will buy from you when they know you, like you, and trust you. Well, what do you think actually creates the know, like, and trust factor? It's the match of the personality style. And I didn't know that going into it. So my original cards were just literally 3x5 cards with words written on it. And I had nothing to lose. So I thought, why not try the experiment? What's the worst that could happen? My customer thinks I'm a freak show, kicks me out of their home, right?
Yeah.
But what's the best that could happen is that they might actually do my experiment and crack their code. And once they cracked it, then as I began to pattern my communication style based off what I believed would be a match for their style, my income shot through the moon. I mean, my closing rate was insane. My income went from 72,000 to over 500,000 in 1 year. So I had a 7x increase. And the best part is it was in 1/3 the time.
So when you're using the B.A.N.K methodology, how did you have the conversations on those sales calls? Was it something that you like were doing research on, or did you actually test it and like have somebody like take a quiz in like 90 seconds to understand them? Like, I was wondering like how you did that. Like, how did you determine their B.A.N.K code while you're on these sales calls, or was it just something that you were putting together with the research first?
Well, first I tried to group the patterns of words based on, I was studying other models, but the other models didn't make sense. Like, for example, in DISC, it will measure whether you're introverted or extroverted, like there's a polarity on an axis. And I found that that was irrelevant to the sales sales process. I don't care if you're introverted or extroverted. I just want to know why you buy. What makes you say yes or no? So I had to look for a completely different approach. And that's what made this unique. I had to think outside the box and ask questions that no one had ever asked before to try to hack my own system to understand why they buy.
Will you walk through with our audience the 4 cards lettering through the bank system just so they understand it a little bit more?
Absolutely. So I color coded these. So if you look at the first one, the B stands for blueprint. I use the color blue. This is a person that's very conservative, what I would call inside the box. They're risk adverse. They're formal in their approach. They're very professional. And if you're talking to this person, you need to dot your I's and cross your T's. Like, for example, if I were to ask you to fill in the blank, rules were meant to be...
You know, it's funny because
you're going to say broken, and a blueprint is going to say rules were meant to be followed.
Yeah. And you know what? I tested blueprint, and I used to be all black and white. And then going on the entrepreneurial journey, I'm not anymore. There's a lot of gray, but that's so funny. It's like right on the dot.
Blue is the last on my code.
Right? Yeah. So these types of things don't matter to you. And there's a set of values on here that...
Other than planning, I do appreciate a good plan.
like stability, structure, systems.
Well, there's the rules right there. See the rules factor? I was like,
and rules were a big thing for me growing up.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's right on the dot.
Like a blueprint when you're a child will tattletale on someone who breaks the rule because they actually get some type of endorphin release on catching criminals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, you could ruin the deal. I had a client that was ready to sign a pretty large deal with me, asked me to meet him for lunch, and I showed up 10 minutes late to the appointment.
Yeah.
I apologized, but as I went to hand him the contract, he put his hands up like this and he said, Cheri, wait, before you go any further, I just want to let you know, I no longer want to do business with you.
Wow.
And I was like, what are you talking about? You just literally called me and said, bring the contract. He said, you showed up 10 minutes late. You've disrespected my time. And if this is the way you treat me before you have my money, imagine how I think you'll treat me once you have it.
Wow.
And that's how I collected these patterns or clues. Was I then cracked his code and I figured out exactly why I lost the deal and how to never do that again with that code sequence.
You know, it's funny.
Right?
I actually, when I had a corporate job, I used to clock in 5 minutes early on the dot, every single time. I never missed a day of work for 8 years.
3 minutes late.
So this personality type, the action is the exact opposite. They're trying to clock in as on the dot or before it goes to the next one or plus or minus 5. Like these people are notoriously late because the party doesn't start until they arrive. Right? Like fashionably late was meant for the action because like they are the star of the show. Why is the party even happening until I get there?
Hey, but I'm fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Right? Well, we're having fun.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing
we're winning.
of red, right? We're wearing some red today, some action, heating it up a
But
little.
do you think, okay, but here's the thing. Like, obviously I started childhood as a blueprint, but then I'm an entrepreneur all the way and I value my freedom and flexibility. And so is there a way to like shift more into being more of like the action person first? Like my order would just change like that.
Yeah.
Eventually?
So 2 things. One is every person in the world is all 4 parts of the code.
Right.
They're part blueprint, part action, part nurturing, part knowledge. Think of it like a PIN code to a debit card, right? Okay. But if your values shift fundamentally, your code will shift with it because this is based on values,
Right.
right? Like the values of an action are freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, action, opportunity, and so forth. And an entrepreneur, if you were to look up the word entrepreneur, it's a French word that stands for risk taker.
Yeah.
Right? Well, blueprints don't like risk, which is why they often like to have jobs and employment contracts versus entrepreneur, where the sky's the limit, but rock bottom storage unit living is also a possibility. So
you know what? It just brings me, I want to tell a story because when I used to work as a operations manager for 8 years and I was unhappy. I was miserable. I was putting on weight at that point too. And I met Tamra and she was like, quit your job, like type up your resignation letter,
Just take action.
take action. And there was one night that I went in and I literally typed up my resignation letter and I wasn't planning on turning it in. I wasn't going to. And on lunch break, she's like, you're going to go in there, you're going to turn it in, and we're going to grow this business. And this was like a decade ago. And I'm like, you're crazy. But I went in and I did it. My boss was like, what is that, a resignation letter? And I was like, actually it is. And it was so liberating. But the thing is that I didn't have stability anymore. And the roller coaster was real and going into freedom and flexibility, but it also shifts into like the mindset around money at the point, because it's like, oh, we have to scale this business fast. And we did great with that. But yeah, I mean, it's so many.
So that's real. And what's cool is our clients, we built this for sales originally, but people use it in their relationships too. And I talk about opposites attract, opposites attack. And you can see the polarity just between the blueprint and the action. It's like gas, brake, like the B is brake and A accelerate. And you can see like, she's like, quit your job. And you're like, what in the heck? You know, like,
I'm like pulling her through. I'm like, no,
you can do it. No, I have to give 2 weeks notice.
It was,
So, you know, that's, so shall I continue?
Yeah,
right?
please.
So you got the action. They're like red hot firecrackers, hair on fire. I use red because, you know, they want VIP red carpet treatment and so forth. Well, then we shift to the end, the nurturing. And these are the ones that are neither inside or outside the box. They're the ones that I say recycle the box. And I use the color yellow because they're warm like sunshine, they're sweet like honey, and they've got a heart of gold. Well, the nurturing personality type cares more about the relationship than the revenue. They care more about the mission than the money. And so you have to have a completely different approach. What makes them say yes makes another one say no, and vice versa. So then you add this element of these are really people-friendly people. They like to touch, they like to hug, they like to talk, they like to tell stories, and so forth. And, you know, some of the reasons that you could lose a sale with a nurturing person is you might be faking it, trying to make it, and their spidey senses are going to go off. They make their buying decisions with their intuition, right? And the hair on the back of their neck will stand up and they'll be like, you know, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about this just doesn't feel right. And they've learned to trust that intuition as a guiding compass in their life to lead them. So that personality type, you can't fake anything. I've heard nurturing people say the reason I didn't buy from so-and-so was they were a wolf in sheep's clothing. So that's like basically an action who's showing up like, I want your money. Let's close the deal. A nurturing's going to be like, you can't, right? And then you've got the last personality style, the green one, the K for knowledge. And I use the green. These people like data so much, like they could eat numbers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I thought Microsoft Excel spreadsheet logo is green, right? Or in the movie The Matrix, the computer code that falls across the screen, green science, green technology. So the knowledge personality type, they're the ones that engineer the box. They're very smart, analytical, data-driven type people, and they make their buying decisions with their brain, not their heart. So you have to approach them from a perspective of really speaking logically to them. They have to be able to connect the dots. And ultimately, they need to get to a place where they can tell themselves that this is a no-brainer, no brain required to protect me from making a foolish decision. Now they're ready to move forward. So that just kind of shows you like B.A.N.K, and we are all 4 of those parts. Like a little formula. So knowing someone's bank code, going back to how I built this, I put these 4 different personality styles or groupings of words on 3x5 cards, and I'd hand them to my client and say, hey, do me a favor. Before we get started talking about finances or whatever, why don't you take a look at these 4 cards, and I just want you to sort them in order and prioritize them. Most important to you, most like you on top, down to least like you, least important to you on the bottom. This is going to help me serve you better and save us both some time. Then I'd shut up and watch what would happen because I didn't know what would happen, right? And what I found was that every time I did that, they did the exercise. There was nothing threatening about it. There was no ill will, and their curiosity engaged them. The topic on the cards was about them, not me. And I spoke all 4 codes to them in doing it. So for example, and this is how you become a master of influence, which is what we teach, the art and science of influence. When I hand these cards to my client and I say, take a look at the cards, I'm activating and talking to the knowledge personality type who wants the information or the data. I then said, I want you to sort them in order, top to bottom, most like you to least like you. I'm now talking to the blueprint, right? So imagine now your communication, your selling, your marketing copy, whatever, has the framework. I then said, this is going to help me serve you better or get to know you better. I'm now creating the warm connection. And I ended it with, and save us both some time, I'm now talking to the action who's like, hurry up, chop, chop, like get to the bottom line. So you can deliberately morph your communication intentionally to speak in someone's code sequence, their bank code, to create that yes outcome in such an easy way without even getting the typical resistance or objections that a traditional sales process would yield.
So sales calls are pretty, like Tamara's sales calls tend to be like 55 minutes. Like it's a little bit longer for her. And so when it comes to understanding somebody's personality and it's a completely cold lead, it's not a referral or anything like that. How do you get to the gist of it really fast? Are you paying attention to the language that they're speaking? Or are you asking a bunch of open-ended questions first and allowing them to expand on it? And then you're like, I know what type they are.
Yes. And that's the hardest way to do it. We call that technique speed coding, right? Which is the art of trying to guess your code through interaction, conversation, looking for clues. What are you wearing? What's your speech patterns? But there is a way easier way. And the way easier way is just hand them a set of cards and ask them to sort it. Right. And then we ended up building technology. What if you're virtual, right? Just like if I'm across your monitor or your phone right now, and I want you to crack your code, I'm going to send you a link or a QR code to do it online digitally, to capture that, and then follow these specific formulas to guide that person to the yes.
So somebody that's completely cold though, I just feel like it's like for me, like going from podcast agency, like, am I going to be like, hey, can you sort through the cards? Like, what does that look like? I feel
you'd be surprised.
Is it even relevant?
If there's any hesitation, and it's normal for people to feel a little bit skeptical or hesitant. And sometimes I say that's a reflection of self-esteem and confidence, because it's not about us. It's about them. They are their own favorite subject. So you're actually giving candy to them saying like, ooh, yummy, yummy. This tastes so good. It's about me.
Right.
And they actually are flattered. And I will then explain. And I think this part is important, especially if they're curious or skeptical. I'll say the reason I'm asking you to do this, Danielle, is because if you'll notice on top of the cards, it says the word values. If you're willing to share your values with me, then I can customize our time together based on what's most important to you, instead of potentially wasting your time based on what's more important to me.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Boom.
So cool.
Right? Because if someone were to say that to a customer, like their respect and trust level with you goes through the roof.
For sure.
And therefore the likelihood of them now engaging with you is like high.
Yeah. Well, I love everything about this part too. I think one of the things that you've been able to actually reach thousands and thousands, probably millions of people with this methodology, because you've taken the stage with Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki and all these individuals. You've been able to share this message with so many people, which is incredible. Like you've got the credibility on that side, being able to share this. Even your wife, Esther, basically said, you would talk for 90 minutes before Tony Robbins, and the people in the seats were like, just what? Like nobody got up to go to the bathroom. Like that's incredible.
That's a lot of people too.
Well, and it shares, it's about this show to women unlocking wealth on that side. What does it mean to you to be able to share your message in a company in this that have built that success over the years?
I mean, it goes back to stop taking advice from people more messed up than you. How many people are out there marketing like, hey, I'm a coach and I can help you make money, and they're freaking broke. And I don't mean any personal offense to that, because I've been there too. I lived in a storage unit, right? We'll get to that story. But I remember praying to God, like, please show me the path to becoming a millionaire, because I'm a student, I want to learn, and I'm hungry, and I will be a good steward of money. And by the way, if you help me, the deal that I'll make you is I'll dedicate the rest of my life to teaching other people how to do it too.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. And that's the reason that I'm on the podcast, or why I speak at conferences and stages all over the world, is because I'm keeping my promise. I became a millionaire at 33. It changed my entire life. And I now dedicate my life to helping other people get there too. And it is awesome. Like when you can give them rocket fuel and show them that they can actually work smarter, not harder. And this is an actual framework that helps them do that, especially being a mom now with an almost 5-year-old. True wealth is not just making money. It's also having time.
Yeah.
Time freedom to enjoy it.
Exactly.
To travel and your business doesn't implode and you're not like a workaholic, strapping yourself to death. So hustle and grind is overrated. And I think our culture promotes like hustle and grind. But the truth is, what if you didn't have to hustle and grind? What if you could actually make a lot more in a lot less time?
Yeah. The most liberating feeling is when you can go to Cabo for a whole 2 weeks and have a team managed company operating behind the scenes. Everything's going smoothly. Like that's what feels so great to us.
That's what real freedom is.
Yeah.
Well, and you said that time period that you said when you were living in a storage unit, but there was some things that led up to that. It was not what you would expect. Like starting from there, you had things going on that actually led up, and then things.
So when I built this, I was a sales rep, 1099 contractor for another company. And using this, I became their number one income earner. I was making almost $2 million a year, and I was training sales teams and sales regions that I was responsible for, and everybody. Like I made the bank system mandatory for everybody in my sales region. I'm like, don't even be in sales if you're not going to use this.
You were talking about? Like,
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Different.
Okay.
But it became such an incredible. I had people who'd never made $100,000 in commission before start to make $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, and $1 million in less than 12 months using bank.
Wow.
So it was revolutionary. And other sales territories started wanting to crash our training events to learn the system. And it made some of the other leaders of those territories jealous. And they went to the company owners. And the company owners pulled me aside and said, Cheri, you're not allowed to train this system to anybody outside of blah, blah. And now it was an ethical question because my bank code is action. Yeah, I'm like pedal to the metal. Let's go. We're going to crush it.
You and me both. Let's go.
But I'm nurturing second. And now there's ethics that are involved. I'm training people how to make money. I'm fighting for the little guy. I made God a promise, and you're not putting handcuffs on me. My moral decision was, am I going to stay for the money because it's good? Or am I going to stay for my mission, actually exit for my mission? So I left and I resigned. And when I resigned from the company, they came after me and sued me to make an example. They were so scared that other people would have a mass exodus and follow me to what they believed might be a competitive company. And so they sued me on non-solicitation and non-compete. And now I didn't even have a business that I was going to start, but I knew I wanted to turn this into something unrelated to the company that I was working with.
Yeah.
But they sued me within 10 days of the lawsuit, right? Like,
wow.
And it was 2008. So I had like $8 million in real estate holdings. I was making almost $2 million a year, had credit lines, all those types of things.
Yeah.
But when I resigned because of principles, I didn't sell my book of business. My income went to zero. My $8 million of real estate holdings, because the markets were collapsing, I had negative $65,000 in cash flow rents from my tenants who couldn't pay anymore. My credit lines were all shut off. And I had to fight a lawsuit, and I escalated it to federal court because I didn't want to be bullied, kind of Aaron Brockovich style. Like I'm going to go up against the bully. $250,000 legal retainer. And at the end of the day, I couldn't start a company no matter what it was until I could prove that it was a non-compete, blah, blah. I had all my stuff in storage units, and the storage units company started calling me saying, hey, Cheri, your stuff's going to go to auction. I mean, I was living in a $2 million home. I had a $1 million home in Hawaii as my vacation home, Mercedes, the lifestyle, Range Rovers, all that. And they're calling me saying your stuff's going to go to auction. And my credit cards were all shut down. My cash I didn't have anymore. The attorneys all had it. And
I'm getting anxiety.
And I'm an action type. And I'm like, think fast. And I thought, all right, let me see if I can find an industrial size storage unit, one of those big bay open door versions, right? Warehouse style, to see if I can save money on these official, like public storage version of the units. So I got my storage cost down in thirds. And then when I went and inspected this facility, it had a little tiny set of steps at the back that went up to a little loft. And I said, I got an idea, because I had to leave my $2 million home. I sold it to Pau Gasol on the Lakers, by the way, right? But I had to pay off all the blah, blah. So I moved into the storage unit, and it didn't have any running water, but I used to be a whitewater rafting guide in college. So I went down to the camp store, got a 5-gallon bucket called a luggable loo. And I made that my toilet for 18 months. No joke. I mean, I went and got trash bags from Costco and Trader Joe paper bags that I had to discard my waste in, dumpster diving. Like it was a freaking nightmare. So I went from being like total millionaire to living in a storage unit, had to get a gym membership so I could shower. And I didn't have this as a product. I just trained it as a philosophy, like 3x5 cards, right?
Yeah.
I never had the intention of, I'm going to start my own company.
Yeah.
But basically when life dealt me these cards, I spoke at a couple conferences. People wanted to know my story. And then they started chasing me saying, how do I buy your bank system? And I'm like, well, I don't actually have a product for sale. Like, this is just my idea. And a guy came up and said, that was the best speech I've ever seen in the history of this industry. I'll help you manufacture it. You just have to pay for it. And I'm like, well, how do I do that? So that's when the whole story of, I literally took a microphone in my storage unit and started to record the first audio tracks of B.A.N.K.
So cool.
right inside this.
Incredible.
And there was windows that couldn't close. Like you'd hear a barking dog or a helicopter or a police siren going by. And I'm like, quality studio. It's not exactly where we are here.
Yeah.
But that's where I started. And that's how B.A.N.K was born into a physical product.
I'm look at it now. You know, I mean, this is an incredible story that you've been able to do at this point. And I'd love to continue the conversation, but you have your book too, and you've got so many things. Like, again, we're going to do a part 2. Could you tell the audience a little bit more about your book, how they can connect with you and everything, how they can pick up the cards, all that stuff? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That.
So I speak at a lot of these big conferences, and people would come hunt me down and be like, how do I get your book? And I'm like, I don't have a book. So I thought, well, maybe I should write a book. So I wrote a book, and it's called Why They Buy. And it's based on the B.A.N.K methodology. You can pick it up on Amazon. You can go to whytheybuy.com. We even give free digital copies away if you decide you want to learn more, no problem. And all you have to do, and what I want to offer everybody, is a chance to crack their code, right? So if you want to know what your B.A.N.K code is, right? Like, how would you sort these 4 cards into a sequence? Then I'm going to direct you to the website, crackmycode.com/free. And you'll be able to sort these cards digitally into your sequence, and then just put your opt-in information. I'm going to send you a $99 report totally for free. On the back end of that, there's going to be an invitation to come to a 4-hour masterclass. It's normally $499. You're going to get it totally free. Okay, so you just have to crack your code, takes less than 90 seconds, and then register for one of our next upcoming masterclasses where I'll tell you how to get a copy of my book, especially if you want the digital one for free. You know, we're going to talk about the system. We're going to talk about how it can help you make a lot more money. And at the end of the day, this is an absolute game changer for any entrepreneur who wants to save time and make a lot more money.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, the fact that you're helping entrepreneurs, small businesses, but even I'm sure you also have trained corporations and stuff like that. So, I mean, anyone that's looking to connect with Cheri, learn more about the B.A.N.K methodology. We took the tests again last night, and I found out that I am the A.N.K.B. And Danielle is the B.A.N.K, literally.
Yeah,
B.A.N.K.
That's like a bingo.
Literally
You got a banko.
I was like, my B's last, but I truly appreciate you joining us on the show. Like, you have an incredible story. You're an incredible human being, and we're super excited to air this episode and help support you.
Well, I'm so excited. You know, our mission is to connect and empower humanity. Our mantra is make people matter and take it to the bank. So thank you for having me on the show.
I love it. Awesome. So those watching, definitely connect with Cheri, download, get the report, get her book. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, Broadcast Your Authority. Leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, and we'll see you in the next episode.